Welcome to the class 10th Social Science Geography chapter number 4 Agriculture. Agriculture is a primary activity which produces most of the food that we consume. Besides food grain, it also produces raw material for various industries. Some agriculture products like tea, coffee, spices, etc. About 58% of the agriculture is engaged in our country of India. Now let us come to the types of farming. Cultivation method has changed significantly depending upon the characteristics of physical, environmental, technical know-how and socio-culture practices. Farming varies from subsistence to commercial type. At present, in different parts of India, there is a famous farming which is prevailed in whole of the country, that is primitive subsistence farming. Primitive subsistence farming is a type of farming which is still practiced in few pockets of India. Number 1. The help of primitive tools like hoe, dhow, and digging sticks and family community labor. Number 2. This type of farming depends upon monsoon, natural fertility of the soil, and suitability of other environmental conditions to the crops grown. Number 3. It is commonly known as slash and burn agriculture. Number 4. The soil fertility decreases due to cultivation of this primitive subsistence farming. Number 5. The farmers sift and clear a fresh patch of land for cultivation. Now, coming to the second type of farming, intensive subsistence farming. Number 1 is this type of farming is practiced in areas of high population pressure on land. In the areas where there is large demography of the people, this type of farming is practiced in those areas. Number 2. It is labor intensive farming. Number 3 is the biological inputs under this intensive subsistence farming are like the irrigation are used for obtaining higher production. Number 4 in this, there is enormous pressure on agriculture land. Now let us look upon the third type of farming, that is commercial farming. Under this, number 1, this type of farming is the use of higher doses of modern inputs. Number 2 is the degree of commercialization of agriculture varies from one region to another. Number 3 is a single crop is grown on a large area. Number 4 is the help of migrant laborers. Number 5. In this farming of commercial agriculture, the produce is used raw material in respective industries. Now, let us go through the cropping pattern that is prevailed in a country of India. These are also reflected in agricultural practices and cropping pattern in the country. Mostly, our country India has 3 cropping seasons. Number 1 is Rabi. Number 2 is Kharif. Number 3 is Zaid. Rajasthan has also been an important factor in the growth of the above mentioned Rabi crops. The crops produced during Zaid are like watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, vegetables and fodder crops. The major crops grown in India are rice, wheat, millets, pulses, tea, coffee, sugarcane, oilseeds, cotton and jute, etc. Now, let us come to the non-food crops. Number 1 is rubber. It is an equatorial crop, but under special condition. Means this type of crop mainly grows nearby to the equator. Number 2 point under this is it requires the most humid climate with a rainfall of more than 200 centimeter and temperature above 25 degrees Celsius. Fiber crops. Fiber crops are like cotton, jute, hemp and natural silk are the 4 major fiber crops grown in India. Number 2. Rearing of silkworms for the production of silk fiber is known as sericulture. Now cotton. Cotton is very famous in our country. India is believed to be the original home of the cotton plant. In 2008, India was second largest producer of cotton after China. Now let us talk about the jute. Jute is known as a golden fiber. It is losing market to synthetic fibers and packing materials in the current perspective. Like it is in the case of declining because the nylon has taken the place of it. Now coming to the technological and institutional reforms, like how there are various reforms that prevailed in the field of agriculture. Number 1. The pace of agriculture development was slowly increased, but the ratio declined because of the people dependent upon the other sector of the economy. Agriculture, which provides a livelihood for more than about 60% of the population. The government of India embarked upon introducing agriculture in 1960s and 1970s. The government also announces minimum support prices (MSP), remunerative and procurement prices for important crops. The famous example of institutional reforms under the agriculture is the Green Revolution, which is based on the use of package technology, and the White Revolution, which is also known as the Operation Flood, were some of the strategies that were initiated to improve a lot of Indian agriculture. And under this, there was a term of land reform, which was the main focus of our first 5-year plan. Development in few selected areas, like in 1980s and 1990s, a comprehensive land development program was initiated, which includes both institutional and technological reforms. Provision for crop insurance against drought, flood, cyclone, fire and diseases. And there was also major other factors to inculcate in these reforms, like establishment of Gramin banks, cooperative societies and banks for providing loan facilities to the farmer at lower rates of interest. And to develop this agriculture, various schemes was launched and various methods to motivate these farmers, like Kisan credit cards and personal accident insurance schemes introduced, and special weather bulletins and agriculture programs for farmers were introduced on radio and TV. The government also announces minimum support price (MSP) to inculcate the balanced price throughout the country, remunerative and procurement prices for important crops to check the exploitation of farmers by speculators and middlemen. Now, let us look upon the contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output for our country. like the GDP, gross domestic product, has registered a declining trend from 1951 onwards. The population continues to be as high as 63% in 2001. The Government of India made concentrated efforts to modernize agriculture in India. Slowly, India made concerted efforts to modernize agriculture, establishment of Indian Council of Agriculture, and the growth rate in agriculture is decelerating in the current perspective, which is an alarming situation. Agriculture is a backbone of Indian economy because its share in the gross domestic product is huge. It is providing employment, it is providing livelihood to the population. The Government of India made concerted efforts to modernize agriculture, establishment of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, agricultural universities, and various veterinary services and animal breeding centers are being inducted, and also development of horticulture development has been taking place in our country. R&D, research and development in the field of meteorological and weather forecasting is playing an important role. Now coming to the food security, which is the next topic, that how this food security is being maintained in our country. Number 1, the number of people who do not have food security is disproportionately large in some region of our country, particularly in economically less developed states with a higher incidence of poverty. Number 2 is the focus of the policy is on fixing the support price for procurement of wheat and rice to maintain their stocks. FCI, Food Corporation of India, which is acting as a storage of grains in a huge mass. Number 3, the FCI procures food grains from the farmers at the government announced minimum support price. Number 4, the competition for land between non-agriculture uses such as housing, etc. And also the farmers are badly affected by the uncertainties of production and market, especially during the Farmer Reforms Act which was being prevailed in our country. Number 6, the higher the supply, the lower is the demand. So it is the basic concept of the economy. Whenever there is the higher supply, the lower is the demand. And now coming to the last topic of this chapter, that is impact of globalization on agriculture. Globalization is impacting widely on agriculture in a following number of points. Like number 1, globalization is not a new phenomena. It was there at the time of colonization. Number 2, till today it is one of the important items of export from India. Number 3, cotton textile industries in Manchester and Liverpool flourished due to the availability of good quality cotton from India. Number 4, the Champaran movement, which started in 1917 in Bihar, was one of the introducing factor of globalization during the freedom of our country, during the era in which our country was fighting for the freedom. Number 5, under globalization, particularly after 1990, the farmer in India have been exposed to new challenges. And also in the current scenario, we can see nowadays the modern techniques have been implemented, like the drone technology, which is impacting upon the agriculture, and it is taking the agriculture to the new heights. Thank you and have a nice day.